Hi, I'm Fiona Worcester, and this is my energy self-study project. I gave it the title Unplugging Your Phantom Load, and you will learn what a phantom load is shortly. This project is part of the UAS MAT program, and this is for my educational technology course. So, what I knew going into this project is that appliances use electricity when they're on, but that they also use electricity when they are off and still plugged into the wall. This has been dubbed the phantom load. So let's say you go on vacation for a while and you leave all of your appliances plugged in, your lamp, your toaster, your hair dryer. Actually, these will be using energy the whole time you're gone. It's not as much as if they're on, of course, but they're still using energy. So one way that people combat this is they actually use power strips, and they'll plug all of their appliances into that power strip and flick it off. And the way I got the idea of this for this project is my boyfriend Wiley was actually going up to Chivac, which is a native village, and they were trying to improve energy efficiency up there. And besides passing out CFL bulbs and probably talking with people about insulation and such, they were also passing out these power strips and having them plug their appliances in them so that they could flick it off when they weren't in use to decrease phantom load. So that's something I knew in advance of this project. Currently, my habits are to unplug all of my chargers for my camera, computer, and cell phone whenever they're not in use. And I know a lot of people don't do that, but for me, it is something that I've started compulsively doing since college. So my assumptions are that this saves energy, and my other assumption is that because chargers are used to actually charge energy into different appliances, it must mean that they're using more power. And I don't know where I got that assumption, but that's how I started out this project. I started the project assuming, oh, it's a charger, so it's using lots of charge. However, it's super annoying unplugging your chargers all the time, and whenever I tell other people to do it in the name of energy efficiency, they're always like, shut the front door. Okay, so my research questions going into this project is how much energy am I saving by unplugging the following: my computer, my cell phone charger, and my camera charger. And is it worth the hassle to unplug these appliances? I'm going to base this decision on both the energy use and the cost factor, because cost is a great way of, operationalizing, I would say, the energy use. So, and also finally, do the chargers actually use more energy than other appliances when plugged in? So those were my three research questions. So a tool that I needed to actually do this project is what's called a watt meter. As you can see from the picture, you actually plug it into the wall, and then you plug the electrical plug into it. So the watt meter is in the outlet, and then the plug to your appliance is in the watt meter. And it measures the watt usage of that appliance, essentially the rate at which it is using energy at that point in time. So it's really important that we get our units of measurement clear here. I struggle with AP Physics, I struggle with units of measurement, and I want to be perfectly clear that what the watt meter is measuring is watts. And that's kind of the equivalent of how fast is it going, what rate is it using energy. And it'll read something like, I plug in my cell phone charger and it says 5 watts. My power company can't do much with that. All it's saying is that right at that moment it's using 5 watts. So what we need to use is a kilowatt hour. Kilo meaning 1,000, so that means 1,000 watts. An hour being a unit of time. So basically, it measures how much energy was used over time. It's kind of similar to how far he's gone, or how far a runner's gone. So if we think of watts as the rate at which somebody's running, that's kind of useful information, I guess, right at that moment. But a kilowatt would be the equivalent of how far have they gone, which is a lot more useful if you're just wondering in general where they are, how tired they are. It's a lot more information. And this is how the electric company actually charges you. And Chugach Electric, which is our provider of electricity here in this home, charges $118. That's $11 or 11 cents, 11.8 cents per kilowatt hour. So the conversion, of course, is kilowatt hours is equal to watts times hours used divided by 1,000. Okay, so we got our units of measurement straight. What we're going to be worried about is kilowatt hours, because that's more like how much energy has it used. In my study, I'm going to compare the following to get an idea of relatively how much my phantom load is. So my weekly phantom load is going to be total energy used if I just leave my chargers plugged in all the time. And it's fun because I don't actually have to leave them charged in to get this measurement. I can just use the watt measure to measure the instantaneous charge right at that moment, and then convert that into kilowatt hours. So I'm going to use that equation after taking my watt measurements with each of my appliances. And then for my weekly active use, that's going to be the energy that's used when the chargers are actually charging my computer, cell phone, and camera. So I'm asking, how much energy is it using when it's on, and how much energy is it using when it's off? So I have my results here, and I know it's a little hard to see because it's a large spreadsheet. But I actually broke down my laptop into 4 categories because I found that when it was fully charged and plugged into the wall, it was using a lot fewer watts at that moment than when it wasn't charged and, at all and plugged into the wall. Also, it was using more when it was on the sleep function and when it was on the non-sleep function. So I actually used the extremes of this. And I know that there's a lot of times in between when it's using measurements in between, but I decided that for the purpose of this study, it wouldn't actually hurt my results. It wouldn't hurt my results because I'm really trying to look at phantom load, not how much something uses when it's on. That's really only there for a basis of comparison. So I'm not asking, could my energy use be decreased by using this appliance? Yet less. I'm actually asking, what's the effect of leaving this thing plugged in all the time regardless of how much I use it? So we aren't too worried about that. And then my cell phone and camera use the same amount whether they're charged or not the whole time, which is interesting. Okay, so down here in my results, I actually have my active load. Oops, sorry. Let's go back here. I wish I had a little pointer. That's what I'm counting on. So active load here for the entire time was 1.352 kilowatts. So let's just say like 1 1/3 kilowatt hours. And then the passive load was less than a half of a kilowatt hour, 0.462. So I found that the passive load is 25% of the total energy use of this object. So go to my next slide. I made a little graph of that little pie chart, and you can see that if this is total energy use, then the active load is 75%. And believe me, it wasn't plugged in very many hours. If we go back, we can see that my computer charger would be left plugged into the wall 132 hours a week, and that it would be charging actually only 36 hours a week. Also, that the cell phone would only be plugged into the wall about 18 hours a week. I know that all 3 areas are kind of morphed together, and if we want to look at the individual ones, we could do that at a different time, but at this point in the presentation, we're going to only look at the overall use.